Hello there everybody, welcome back to the Groundswell Ecosystems YouTube channel. I'm Nicola Kench and this is Project Alteration Ultimate Home Couture. Slow down fast fashion, covet what you own, make the ordinary extraordinary and glam it up for Mother Earth. The Groundswell Ecosystems YouTube channel and my Groundswell Ecosystems community interest company is all about everyday and systemic actions to create an eco-positive groundswell. What do we do for the environment? What do we do for our world? What do we do for our planet in an eco-positive way? And reducing your impact on the planet via slowing down your accessing, your buying, your using of fast fashion. You can make a huge difference and you can also glam it up for Mother Earth. I also want to say a huge thank you to all new subscribers. If you're just watching for the first time today, it's all of that stuff. It's like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and you'll get all forthcoming content. As I have explained before, the projects that I create, I don't post just for the sake of posting. I like to create really kind of first time, permanent time copies or iterations of work that I consider to be long-term strategic projects. All right, so thank you for bearing with me. There is more to come. Step by step, we will be getting there. Groundswell Ecosystems, everyday and systemic steps to an eco-positive groundswell. There is always a way. Every action counts. Shine the green light. The space kitten. I'm coming right up to the camera. To that end, after all the blurbs, all right, what we're going to do today is we're going to do this, all right, what I'm wearing right now. I'm sporting this kind of mooncat situation, which I'm, to be honest with you, quite happy with. And what I did here is I turned a t-shirt effectively into a sweatshirt using the method I've been showing you in the last few videos, sewing, talking, etc. in the last few videos, which is basically the QuickSew method. Get rid of the sewing machine, make like a cave person and go like that with your hand, and then there you go, you've got stuff which is quickly done. Take away the sewing machine, get rid of the middleman, and just get on with it. All right, so I'm going to show you today how to turn a t-shirt into this, which is effectively a kind of a loose sweatshirt. Let me just do a little bit of modeling. There we go. Right. I'm like reversing. There we go. All right, if I come in, you'll see there's the remains of the old t-shirt. The remains, the archaeological remains of the old t-shirt. Sorry, silly streak. Silly streak. Anyhow, there you go. Put in the panels down the side, lengthening those, then put in a side panel, all right, and then shaped the side panel there, and then curved the bottom edges, all right, and of course did the neck. I made the neck slightly bigger. Right, so there you go. I'm going to, that's my look, All right, there you go. That is turning a t-shirt into a sweatshirt. I'm sure we've got, all of us, multiple somewhere around the place, you know, dead and abandoned t-shirts that are no longer loved, that we can do so much more with, that we can turn and create into something which is kind of really unique, individual, funky, hyper funky, designed for you. Okay, that's always the point. Project Alteration Ultimate Home Couture. Right. So what I have here, all the ingredients to make this happen. Here is an old t-shirt. I don't like it anymore. I don't wear it. I don't use it. I found it packed away somewhere. Here is a bit of the double knitting wool that I was talking about in the previous so-called QuickSew videos, where I was showing you how to get rid of the sewing machine, out the window, rock and roll like a cave person. All right, so here we have the double knitting wool, which I'm just going to use to just quickly hand sew and make these changes. Then over here, sorry, ta-da! Over here we have a pair of sadly abandoned leggings. By the way, keep all your old leggings. They're incredibly useful. You can just use them into panels, right? Stretchy material, super useful for changing stuff around, for putting for putting in inserts and panels into clothes that are stretchable. And then over here I've got, this is what I want to put in my main side panel underneath the arm, which is what I considered, it's an old top where I'm not interested. I kept all these things so I can adjust them, etc. This is what I would like to term an oyster satin, an abandoned oyster satin crossover top, which I'm going to have great pleasure hacking up and repurposing. All right, I'll show you that in a second, lay everything out, and we'll start going through everything step by step to turn a t-shirt into a sweatshirt. Right, so what we have here are all of the elements, and I'm going to take you through them step by step. So there you go. There is the original moon catty type of t-shirt, which I turned into the sweatshirt. As you can see here, I've added on, that's the t-shirt sleeve at the top. I've added on a panel to make the sleeve longer. Let's go around to the other side. There it is. Then I've added in another panel down the side and then shaped that panel last of all to get the correct shaping and sizing. These are the ingredients that we're going to use. We've got, I'm going to point from the distance, we've got the double knitting wool. I've got to choose my color, the scissors, pins, and I'm going to show you that needle right now. Zooming in, here we are. This is actually called, let me take that away. This is actually called a yarn darner. Super, super, super useful. Very sharp yarn darners. You can get them all over the internet. They're super sharp, but have got big enough eyes to fit other things into it, to fit wool in other words, right? So over here, we've got the choices of the things, the choices of the wool that I'm going to use to hand sew these changes, these alterations. Here is the t-shirt, just laying it out. There is the bit of satin that I'm going to use down the side. And then over here are the leggings that I'm going to cut at first, my very first step, to actually lengthen these sleeves. Tiny little bit of something to actually lengthen these sleeves as the very first step. Right, so now we're going to start off the very, very first step, just like the other video, which is about teaching you how to make a garment bigger, is we have to actually slit open the sides completely. So what happens here is that this t-shirt doesn't actually have a side seam. Obviously, sometimes they're just produced as tubes. I'm lying it flat. There you go. Just cutting all the way down, opening up the garment all the way down the sides. Okay. This is the method that I use, obviously, to make anything bigger. It works right across the board. To put in a side panel, you can literally do this on a coat. It's perfectly feasible. There you go. Okay. Right. Any kind of bits of stuff sticking out, I'll fix those up later. So I've cut that completely. Front from back, all the way down the sides. Right, there you go. There it is. Right. Okay. Front and back. Okay. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take the leggings and I'm just going to prep these to create the bits where in fact I'm adding onto the sleeves here. I'm making the tops of long sleeves. Let me just show you with this panel. What we have here is we have the top of the t-shirt there, and then there is the extra panel that I'm adding in. I'm adding in that panel that goes all the way down there. All right, at the end of the sleeve. So here's your t-shirt. So I try to explain things in as many ways as possible, just in case anyone is confused. Sorry if I sound a bit bonkers, but here you go. So there's your seam, and then you're going to have another panel down there. Okay, so now I'm just going to prepare these leggings. Very, very useful. They're actually cut at it. Obviously, they're shaped at an angle, not cut at an angle. They're shaped at an angle. So all that I'm doing here is I'm just going to cut at the widest bit, so I can get as much from the fabric as possible. Cut, 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 cut. Et voila. Love doing that. Have to do it. All right, and then there we go. I've got two legs. There's a leg. Hello, there's a leg. All right, and I'm going to cut it just roughly down the seam. Okay, let me just quickly do that. Cutting it roughly down the seam, super useful leggings. Much can be done with them, particularly because you get instant panels effectively. So there's that leg. Take it apart, and I've got this nice big kind of V-shaped piece of stretchy t-shirt material. Right, so here we go. I'm going to do the same with the other one, and then I'm going to show you how to join these using the so-called QuickSew method of hand sewing, how to put this panel right up onto the t-shirt edge. Okay, let me just quickly cut this one. I moved to say et voilà, like a French couturier, but you know. Yes, voila, 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 there you go. All right, now I'm going to show you how to put these panels starting off onto the edge of the t-shirt. Yes, what I'm going to quickly do with the top of this panel is I'm just going to straighten it. There we go. Last time I did this, I hacked up half my tablecloth. You live and learn. Right, there we go. Straighten that out. Here is the edge of the t-shirt sleeve. Now, without fixing or fussing about anything, I'm not going to unpick or anything like that. I'm literally just going to go, here is right side. No, in fact, excuse me, it's the other way around. Here is, because I'm going to sew on the outside, what I actually want is I actually want wrong side to wrong side, so that actually we land up seeing the seam on the outside. So I've put right side on the outside, right side on the outside, wrong side together. Okay, pin those, pin that, right, okay. And just a word about the satin insert. I just wanted to experiment with kind of different looks, all right? Putting a bit of satin in, you could put in a bit of pinstripe, you could put in a bit of floral, this and that. You could accentuate with different colors, and of course go for different wool color when you do your sewing on. Right, now, big decision, which color? I actually, because I think this like works beautifully with that, I'm actually going to go with this one. Take off a whole lot of this. This is slightly glittery. Yeah, good. Here we are. Here is this beautiful, currently much favored yarn darner. All right. Thread this. It does go through, even though it's not actually a tapestry needle. It's just got that you need to have when you use this, is you need to have a sharp end. Yarn darners are great. So here we go. I've got a nice long bit because I'm going to double over it. All right. Put a knot at the end. In fact, I double knot it at the end. I just go, it'll knot twice on itself, so it's not going to kind of pull through at all. Snippety snip snip. There we go. Right. And now I'm going to start sewing. Now I want you really, you're going to have to do a close up for this one. All right. Let me zoom this in. Right. Okay. So here we go. Really simple. Now let me stress this. I really like hand sewing. I've done it all my life since I was a babe in the arms, believe it or not, and I find it like really soothing and therapeutic. It's beautiful. All right, people do cross stitch or whatever it is. I like hand sewing. So I'm going to start it off over here. All right, by the way, in terms of time it's going to take you, I suggest, imagine you're doing imagine it's like a chunky kind of tapestry project, and it's not going to take all that long at all. It'll be like an evening in front of the TV. You should be fine. All right, now remember, you do not have to be perfect. All that you do want to do is you don't want to tighten it too much, all right? Because it will start ruching up. So look at this. I'm just doing the most basic, proper, as I said, cave person over stitch. Absolutely the most basic of the basic. All right, checking that it's going like that. I check it as I go along. Right, let me keep going. I'm going to go really close up. Right, can you see that? It's starting to form there. Right, okay. Just keep on going. It's absolutely the simplest of the simplest stitch. All right. It's kind of cave person museum stitch. That's the one. There you go. All right. Keep on going. I'm going to keep on going off camera. All right. in my little turret. I'm going to go to the end, then I'm going to show that to you and show you what to do to strengthen it. You actually do it twice and you create this lovely kind of sort of, this beautiful sort of cross kind of effect, which is obviously really decorative, and that's on the outside. Yes. Just be careful. See, there you go. Just be careful when you do this that you don't pull it too tight. Just kind of monitor your tension a little bit so that you're a little bit careful so it doesn't actually sort of ruche it all in. All right, just be a little bit careful with that. There you go. Now I've done that seam. I've done the first little, I've done the first one way of it. I've got to go back now because I love that little cross effect. So you basically go back on itself. Again, do this carefully. Do not pull too tightly. Go back on itself. So you start creating those little stars. I'm just trying to get that close to the camera. Right, there you go. So you start to create those little stars, the little crosses. Right, the little crosses over there, which will show on the seam. You just go back, take that really close. You just go back over it. There you go. And that creates that little cross effect on the edge, which I personally much favor. There it is again. So right now I am going to be doing both of these sleeve bits where I'm changing the t-shirt edge of the short sleeve into a long sleeve. Right, marvelous. Right. Just a quick reminder about these materials. This here is a yarn darner, all right? It's a yarn darner. There it says so. It's a yarn darner. And the wool that I use, I'm going to bring this really up close, is actually double knit yarn. You can get this everywhere and anywhere. It's super cheap. Comes in every color known to humanity, all right? And it's unbelievably hyper funky, even if I say so myself, for doing quick alterations, right, and quick renovations. So there you go. Okay, so what I've done here now is I've done both of these seams where I've actually added on, right, from the t-shirt, okay, these panels. Right, let me hold that up. I love that color, though, the black with that. All right, there you go. Black is a little bit of an unfortunate color, actually, but it was the one that I had. Here you go. And now I just have to trim those bottom edges there. All right, but basically I've got my two panels. Now, of course, these are far too long. So what you would do here, first of all, I'm going to just fold this over and neaten this up a little bit. You would think about, you know, your favorite long sleeve top, and you would cut this right now, basically matching that length. So I'm just going to cut these off here, these edges. Just trim those edges straight. Right, there you go. It's a bit choppy all over the place. Don't worry about that. That'll all get kind of sewn up and sewn away. Right, I'm just going to straighten that out a little bit. Right, now the length that I like is actually this length, so I'm going to take my previous one and I'm just going to roughly do it, roughly round about that. There we go, give it a little bit of extra. Alright, just in case. Have to do it, throw it over my shoulder, tidy up later. Right, straighten this up, ready to be sewn. Okay, let me do it to the other side. There you go. Right, there is my little edge of the sleeve, and there's the extra panel, and I'm just about to trim the other side. Yes. Okay. Get it the same length. I must stress with this the kind of thrill of making something which is 100% uniquely designed for you color-wise, and what will later be size-wise, because you can do your final seam which will alter the side width. There you go. Alright, so those are the top of the sleeve panels that are now in. Right, I'm going to just do this in a separate shot. There you go. There are the sleeve panels. Yeah, with the cross stitch. There's the previous one. Right, just going to pan across, and the other side. All right, just go back a little bit. You can see, right, those panels are now in on the t-shirt. Next step is to put in fact, the side panels, which I'm going to use that satin for. Right. Now, this is this satin top, which I've actually flattened out. I've cut out anything and everything, any ruching, any sleeves, any shoulders, that will stop me getting a completely flat bit of fabric. Now, it is slightly shaped, so it's slightly, not entirely flat, but still it's giving me the correct amount of stuff to work with, all right? Now, so basically just chop off everything that stops you getting a flat piece of fabric, because it's much harder to cut unless it's flat. Now, what I want here is I want side panels that go all the way from the bottom side of the t-shirt all the way up to the end of the side seams. So the way to check that you've got that long enough, right, is you lay out your t-shirt, which has already got its lengthened sleeve right the way across the fabric, just to check where do we stand. Okay, yeah, where do we stand, all right? Now, my personal preference, and there's plenty of fabric here, my personal preference is, because I like things loose, is to create it much wider than I think I'm going to need, possibly, okay? Because there's always the option of the final tapering side seam, which will tighten everything up. Let me just show you this on this moon cut top. Here you go. There is the sleeve panel, there is the side panel, and I've actually tapered up that side panel with a final side seam. Okay, a final side seam. So there's always that final thing when you can shape the sleeves to make them a bit smaller, etc., etc., etc. There's plenty to play around with later, but I always err on the side of caution and do it as wide as I want, because I want a loose flowing effect personally. Right, so I'm going to start cutting these two panels. Fold that over. I know that it's definitely long enough, just so I can get some kind of purchase on this and control the satin a little bit. I'm going to pin it. Just get it up here. Right, that's enough. I'm going to pin it just roughly, just to hold itself down. Not a perfect science, but you want something that is workable. Right, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to cut here. Satin moves around a lot, don't worry about that. You can always fix stuff up later. You're getting your first sort of bits of panel. Right, there we go. And I'm going to cut down this side. First bit of panel. Alright, and then I'm going to cut all the way across, because I want this to be quite wide. Oopsie. I don't want to chop up the tablecloth again. Right. I'm not drawing on this or anything like that with dressmaker's chalk. I am just keeping it quite easygoing here. Alright, you can of course iron that over the seam or whatever if you really want to, but just remember you can tighten all of this up and neaten all the edges up later. You're just getting your first cut here with these panels. Alright, and then I'm going to slip them down the side here. So I have two. Zut alors. Step by step. I do err on the side of caution and give as much guidance as possible, because I don't want it to be a situation where people are confused. Alright, There you go. I'd rather do it properly and kind of get as much clarity as possible. Right, so there we go. There are two, let me remove that. Right, there are two, right, rectangles. All right, two long strips, which I am going to fit in, all right, on the side of the t-shirt. Right, I can double check there's enough length here. Yeah, there is enough length, that's all right. Okay, all right, now I'm going to show you how I pin those in and do that on the outside. Then of course I'm going to go away and sew in both of the side panels. There you go. Okay, put that double knot on the inside. Right, remember as well these seams, I know I'm repeating myself, right, just for clarity, these seams are on the outside. So I've taken a very long piece of wool here and it knots up a little bit, but that's fine, it is working. Okay, there we go. Now what I want to do is inside to inside, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, and I'm going to attach these panels right the way down from wrist right the way to the end of the t-shirt, these big rectangles on both sides. I'm going to go off and do that, typically, as they say, off camera. All right, and when I return I shall show you how these are both placed in, and then we can think about the size of the final defining side seam and then finishing everything off. Okay, same type of sewing, just do the classic curve person job, right, and then I'll get to the end of the seam and go back over to itself to create that crossed kind of look. Excellent, there you go, see you soon. Right, so there you go. I've seamed all of the side panels in. What I actually did, because I really like to err on the side of caution with putting in more fabric than I might need, because I like things to be loose and flowing. And as far as I'm concerned, the point of doing this is to make something which is far more loose and flowing. But of course, if your tastes are to have things more fitting, then of course you're just going to use less fabric on the side. So actually what I did here is that there is, I'm just making sure that that can be seen, there is the satin panel, and then I added in fact, I chopped up another pair of leggings and I added in another bit down the back there. Okay, please be aware that obviously I have developed this crazed love, well, I've always had it, for hand sewing, all right, because it's like some people take up tapestry or whatever it is, and for me, I just find it like it's insanely kind of therapeutic. So what I've got here is I'm laying this all out to say, yeah, this is the kind of different sizing you've got. It's much looser now. Again, I'm repeating myself, clearly I'm very fond of doing such a thing. Just two things here is that you can create something which is completely bespoke, meaning completely designed for you. Here is, I wanted to go with this oyster satin, I love saying it. And I wanted this kind of complementary, this sort of glittery complementary double knit, let me bring that up to the camera, double knit yarn to sew it up. I've sewed it up on the outside. I've turned the seams so that you can be seen on the outside like this, right? But of course, it doesn't go without saying, I like to make it all explicit, is that you can do all of this on a sewing machine in the blink of an eye as well. You can do exactly the same technique. I've gone with this because I like that look. There you go. All right, so now what we need to do is just going to lay that out again. It's obviously very wide. Now there's this width, all right, on the waist effectively, but there's far too much width now, okay, on the wrists. All right, just here you're going to have, differences in length as you sew things up. So what I'm going to just do here, making sure that you can see, is I'm just snipping that so that it actually is even, so that I can actually start. Sorry, I have to do it. It's the Romans and the chicken bones. I have to do it. There you go, over my shoulder. I do it so that it's nice and even, all right? And you can do that all around so that everything is even. I think there's an uneven one here. No, I've already done that one. There's uneven ones on the bottom, which I will sort out so that I can start, obviously, when I get to that point, planning my hem correctly. So I'm just going to quickly cut that. Cut, snip, 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 snip. Just even it out. There you go, just even it out. And the same rule applies there. Obviously that panel is too long on both sides, that's absolutely fine. And just see, make sure that you can see that. So I really err on the side of adding in on every step so that in case anybody is confused, it's really all here. I want it to be a case of once you've watched it, you can go away and do it on your own. If you're not sure, you can come back and have a look. Right, okay. There you go. Et voila. Right, now I'm going to put it on and I'm going to start making decisions about how wide I want the sleeves to be at the wrist. Yes, painstaking process, much to be enjoyed. Look at that. Right, there we go. Much to be enjoyed. Right, so now I'm garbed up. All right, and it's a bit too flowing. All right, so look at this. This is what I really wanted. I wanted that kind of loose feel over there. The sleeves have gone a bit sort of, look at that. A bit sort of slow motion angel. Not quite what I was looking for. All right, let me just quickly show you on the original one. Walk off stage. Here we go. On the original one, it's also flowing. And then, of course, what we're looking at right now is fitting this, putting in this shaping seam, which is going to make the wrists manageably sized, okay, while the rest of it is still nice and loose and free. And that's going to give it that lovely almost bell shape, which I really like, and also it's going to have the wider neck, so it's a far more relaxed look. Yes, right. I'm going to get the pins. Just another word on, I'm trying to give myself the benefit of the doubt. Just another word on long videos, okay. From my point of view, if I do present a skill, I want it to be that that video is a complete presentation. It's a one-off. I don't have to go back and remake the video or adjust stuff or put stuff in. No, I try and put in everything so that I've covered all queries. I try to imagine what the questions are going to be as I'm doing something, okay, rather than having to go back and remake it. So just bear with me, sewing class. Right, okay, so here we are, just wandering around the place. Here are the pins. Right, here's the sleeve. All right, there, if I go from the width, I need to snip that off a bit still. If I go where the wrist is, I want it a little bit wider than that, all right? So what I'm going to do is you can just do this while you are wearing the garment. You can see exactly what's going to work for you. I'm pinning that to show my wrist width, which will give me the kind of space to roll it up and it'll hold its shape. Can you just see that? I've pinned that there. Now over here, I want to kind of get a rough idea of where I'm going to taper to so I can retain that width. There's a sort of L shape there up into the armpit. Right, so I'm going to put a pin here. Right. Pin here. There we go. Right, so now what is effectively going to happen is that is going to be tapered down to there. And that's where you get the arms fitting. Now, of course, I've done plenty of sewing down there. You can calculate that so that you can possibly cut off some of, not do as much if you want. But I'm a fan of the therapy that is hand sewing. Sorry, it's like a story. When I was a child, I was ill at home and I sewed myself a pair of ballet shoes. I was like, no balletic talent, that's not going to stop me, all right, okay, just sew the shoe, they'll want you still. So yeah, I've been doing it forever, all right, so here we go, that's what it's going to be going to. I'm going to show you how to pin that right now. Yes, all ballerinas included, yes. Right, so here we are. This is the sleeve that's been laid out. The pin that I've got here, which is effectively the underarm, is over here. Let me bring that into the screen. That is over here. All right, so I'm going to start pinning at an angle, and I want that angle to run all the way up to where I've decided that the wrist will be. All right, so I'm going to just pin that line. There you go. It's not going to be a perfect line at first. You can always just adjust that. That's the marvel of the poor old cave people. They didn't have pins and pin cushion, as much as we know. There'll probably be an archaeological find soon. Some sort of dig will bring up, you know, some battered prehistoric pincushion. There'll be like a breakthrough. All the sewers of the world will go, yeah, well, we expected it. We aren't asleep behind the wheel. We knew the cave people had it going on. Anyhow, I'm obsessed with this idea of no barriers to entry. No barriers to glamour. Right, so there you go. I have, let me hold that up. Right, I've pinned that, all right, right across there. So that's the wrist, and that's effectively where that sort of, where it goes into the main seam. That's already there. That is actually the underarm. Woo! And the same thing applies here. That's exactly what it is. There's the after version, and there's the before version. Yeah, the after version and the before version. Okay, I'm just going to quickly show you next. I'm going to show you how to make this, prepare this for when you cut the seam. Okay, so I'm just doing the little double knot. I've fired up the sewing needle. Sorry, sometimes I just go through a phase where I speak in different voices. And then it goes, it's all right. I'm not certifiable, it's all right. And even if I was. Right, okay, so here we go. All right, that's the seam. All right, now obviously what I want to do is I want to match that to the other seam. Just a quick word about how to do that. You lay that out in exactly where it would be for the other side. You lay it out. And you lay them effectively next to each other so that you can see, all right, how the one matches the other, okay, all right, because you want obviously the arms to be the same width. Have a quick look, there it is, the same width, that's fine. And then you want that seam as well, okay, to be obviously tapered in the same way on both sides. Come on now. A bit strict. Right. You want that to be, there we go. Right, we want that to be the same, so I'm just matching it down the side seam. Right, and over here, all right, where the other place is, the other bit, all right, I just mark that on here. So I want the sleeves to be the same. I lay that out. Yeah, I lay that out. Here we go, and I lay that on top so I can see where I'm going. And then I follow the same sew line. Right, and I pin just like the other one. They're not going to be identical. We are not machines, folks. We are neither cave people nor machines. We are somewhere in between. No Elon Musk. No. That's what I have to say. No Elon. Stay behind in planet Earth. Alright. Perhaps you want to think about, fixing some stuff up around here rather than flying off. Anyhow, right, okay. Thought I'd just made a bit of opinion. Right, here we go. No, Elon. Stay here. Alright, stay here and use some of your dollar for us. Alright, okay, to fix up some stuff around here. Okay, so here we go. Alright. And now what I want to show you is, here it is, okay. I want to show you how you're going to prep this seam, because you really shouldn't cut this off before you sew it. You don't want everything going all over the place. So because we're sewing on the outside, this is this glamorous kind of thing, I'm going to go on the inside because I don't want that little bit of thread to show. So I go here, oopsie, where is it? I'm looking forward to showing you the next, oopsie, there it is. I'm going to push it through there. Oopsie. Zut alors, pull. Okay. All right, that's ready to go. I'm just putting making sure I'm in the shot. All right, now I'm ready to go. Now, all that you're going to do when you're on these really the shaping seams, you want to make extra sure that that is strong. Okay. All right. So what I do here is I do the simplest straight stitch that you can actually possibly imagine. All right. It's not even a back stitch. I'll get onto that in another day. All right. Okay. It's literally just the most basic stitch. Let me bring that up to the camera. We do a few more stitches, then bring it up to the camera. Right, I'll just do a few more and then I'll show you. Make sure that you can see it. Oopsie. Yeah, I really I favor this, you know, doing this hand sewing, because you can get such lovely funky techniques. Okay, can you see? That is, let me take off that pin so that you can possibly see that better. That is, get the light, the simplest in and out straight stitch that I'm doing on the tapering seam, just to secure the seam before I cut it off and then do the edging with this cross little star effect. Okay, so I'm going to quickly finish off this seam, then we're going to cut it. There you go. Right, now I have actually sewn that tapering seam. Just done it very plain stitch all the way across. Now, because I'm going to edge it with the little stars just like all the other seams, is that I am going to just snip, really cutting the seam about 1 centimeter wide. Snip down the side. Oopsie. Oops. Just trying to keep it straight. Right, snip down the side. There you go, let me bring it up here. Right. And right to the end. Okay. Right, there you go. Alright, there's that seam. Then I'm going to do the normal process here, just as the other seams are, and I'm going to over that and create the little stars. Alright, just like the other seams. I'm going to obviously do that on both sides. I shall be reporting back shortly. Hi there. Okay, so what I've done now is I've put the shaping seam in the side panel. All right, ready to go. The next thing I'm going to go and do is I'm going to check how long I want the sleeves and how long I want the front. All right, I'm going to go check that, ready to shape the bottom. All right, and to obviously hem the sleeves and to decide obviously on the neck, which I'll do when I place the top right out on the table. Just in terms of a question, if you're wondering, why do I not pre-cut the side panels in the shape that I want, you know, ultimately, and the reason for that is when you are adding into a garment, you generally want to give yourself a little bit of extra fabric, and then you've got the option afterwards to shape it exactly as you want. It's the same thing in the Make a Garment Bigger video. It's precisely the same kind of thinking, all right? Is you want more to play with rather than having too little. Okay. Right, so I've gone and pinned the sleeves, the bottom edge, and I'll be sorting the neck out now as well, just to prep to get this finished. Just to show you here the way you do the sleeves, I've just pinned them up as they were on me. This is what they're going to look like at the end. All right, and literally all you need to do, again using the word literally, just going to hide underneath there. I'm just going to hide the knot. All right, and inside, just double knotted that just as the other ones were. And all you need to do here is you just do the same process again. You do the very simple long live the cave person basic over stitch. go. Whoopsie, I'm just setting that up. Oopsie. Just getting it started. Alright, just the over stitch, pin cushion. Right. Okay. Right, just as before, go all the way around on the sleeve and then go all the way around back. Alright, there you go, and then go all the way around back, and that will be your sleeve finish, your sleeve seam. Right, once that's done, you just cut off on the inside. You just cut any extra on the inside carefully so that you don't snip anything, just like the other sewing. Right, right, there you go. There's the sleeve. All right, just obviously very, very simple. Boom, 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 do it from the outside and go back on it. Excellent. Now I'm going to curve the hem, but I just want you to see from the original what that looks like. So I'm going to cut and shape the one that is developing over there. The oyster colored crumple of fabric. Right, so now I'm going to shape along the bottom. The way that I've done this is I've pinned up the length that I want on the front, and I'm simply going to quite carefully just cut this curve up into the panel. I put a pin on each side as to how high I want it to be. Alright, it's just to get extra movement at the bottom, because if it doesn't have this curve, it can be really quite heavy. This is also marked here how much I want it to go up. At the back, I want it slightly up. And again, I'm just going to cut along here according to that curve, so that I've got a front and back curve, much like the so-called grandpa vests, I think. Right, if it's slightly edgy, I'll neaten it up later on. Not a problem. Just do this. Down this side, you're probably seeing my back. Okay, right, there we go. Same rules apply. All that I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to fold over. All right, and again, just really simply just fold over and sew along there to get the bottom edge. Right, excellent. So I've done the bottom edge. You'll see that in a minute when I put it all on. Now what I want to do is I want to widen out the neck. Now, of course, you can make this as wide as you want. If you want, you can make it an off-the-shoulder top, etc., etc. What I've done here, as you can see, this isn't off the shoulder. I've just opened it up a little bit. This is the cat, the space cat one. All right, there you go. So the way to start with this is before you even open it up, just cut out the neck as it is, and it'll give you a really good place to start with your judging of how much you want to widen it. So just go right the way around, cut right around and out the neck, a little bit, the neck ribbing. Let me take that away. Cut out the neck ribbing. Here we are. You'll cut right next to it. Just cut out the neck ribbing. And then what I want to do is I want to have a quick, I would go and try this on at this point to see how big I want it. But as I happen to know the kind of sizing that I like, I'm going to just have a quick look as it is. Right, now what I knew last time is that I just increased it slightly. Now what you, to widen it a little bit at the neck there. Now what you want to do, and of course you're going to be folding over the edge to create your seam, all right, and do the normal decorative crisscross, hand sewing technique there, right there. Right. What I am going to do is I'm just going to quickly cut up some extras, cut out some extra, and to see how much it is, I'm just going to flip it up there so I can see on the other side how much it is. Right, there we go. And then I'm just going to cut there. Whoopsie. To even it out. Just a word of caution. If you cut quite low on the back of the neck, you will get a top which generally tends to fall off your shoulder more. All right. If that's what you want, then of course that's absolutely fine. If it isn't what you want, then just go ahead with caution at that point. So there we go. I'm going to go test that right now, but I'm pretty sure it's all right. So what you would do here, right, is you simply just fold over, all right? Fold over. With a t-shirt, it's stretchy. Okay, pin, and I'm going to go do the normal over technique. Just be aware that at the corners, all right, when you fold over, it might be a little bit tight, all right? So the way around that is all that you do is you ever so slightly, only the width of the seam. The seam here is going to be around about 1 centimeter. You just snip into the seam, and it's going to make it at that point easier for me to fold because I'm going right up to the edge. Whenever anything is curved, you tend to have to ease out the corners. I did the same at the bottom edge, by the way, when I sewed the bottom edge. Here on the curves, I actually just snipped a little bit, okay? I just snipped into the seam just a little bit, just to ease it out, okay? I'm going to go sew that, and I'll be back shortly. Right, so there you go. There's the original one, and there is the more understated satin beige and black one, all done with the inserts put in the sleeves. The neck has been completed, and the bottom edges are done. Curved bottom edges are done. There you go. If the look is a little bit rustic, it's because it's designed that way. It's designed to show the seamage on the outside. Reverse, reverse, reverse. So there you go. There's the finished article. Really this one is quite simple, obviously. It's less flashy than that moon cat. But anyhow, because I dabbled in some fluoro with that one. But this one is fairly understated with the black and the oyster satin, the overstitching on the outside. So this is what it becomes. It becomes a kind of a wide-necked, sort of loose-armed, curved, I make the back slightly longer than the front, curved edge, effectively kind of sweatshirt, loose t-shirt top, okay? You can obviously alter this in multiple ways to suit yourselves. I can't resist, however, all right? I feel a calling. I'm going to go and dabble with some extras. I shall be back shortly. Yeah, I couldn't help it. I had to add in some lace. This is a battered old lace top, which I kept for this very purpose of one day doing this. And I put on some shells, some cowrie shells. These come pre-chopped. You can buy them online. Very, very cheap. Affordable is the word, I think. And you can easily sew them on. So there you go. I've turned it into more of a kind of like a vicarish kind of like kind of vibe. Anyhow, whacked on my project alteration label, and I wanted something which was a little bit kind of stepping it up from the understatedness of the beige and black. So there you go. Right, there you go. That is altering a t-shirt, turning it into a sweatshirt. Really, really, really easy. Chop out the side seams, put in a panel to make the arm longer at the top, put in a side panel, put in the shaping seam, chop the neck and chop the bottom, okay? Remember, I've curved the bottom, so. All right, remember, all right, I'm obviously doing this as a quick sew project, which is a hand sew project. Just whack, 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 sew it along on the outside, funk it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, if you sew it in the outside, you're basically presenting it. You're showing that that is one of the, one of the effects of the whole look, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, you can do exactly the same thing, and it will be quicker if you do use a sewing machine. It's all good. So there you go. That's what we started with, the first sample, which was the overstated moon kitten top, all right? And this was, or now is, what was the understated black and oyster satin top, which I've now slightly overstated, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. You know that this is the Groundswell Ecosystems YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications bell for all the projects as they arise. Everything that I do, please bear in mind, if you find the video long, I like to make videos thinking about every single thing that somebody could possibly need to know. If you're an advanced sewer, just double click right on the side of the little triangle arrow and it will fast forward 10 seconds. Obviously, I try to accommodate everybody and I try to put in as much information as possible, particularly if you are a beginner and are learning the skills. Remember as well, you can do this all, the same process, very quickly by sewing machine. Remember, you are creating something which is uniquely, beautifully your own, and that's the point. Thank you for watching. I'm Nicola Kench. This is Groundswell Ecosystems YouTube channel. Every day and systemic steps to an eco-positive groundswell. This is Project Alteration. Slow down fast fashion. Covet what you own. Make the ordinary extraordinary and glam it up for Mother Earth. See you next time.